I didn't slam the bathroom door. I didn't call them out right there at the dinner table. I carefully folded the insurance documents, put them back exactly where I found them, and walked back to Easter dinner with a smile on my face. My name is Walter Brennan. I'm 67 years old, and until 3 months ago, I thought I knew my daughter Emily better than I knew myself. I raised her alone after my wife Rachel died of cancer when Emily was 16. I worked double shifts as a systems analyst, put her through college debt-free, and walked her down the aisle 6 years ago when she married Brett Morrison. I thought I had done everything right. The Easter invitation came as a surprise. Emily and I hadn't been close lately. Ever since Brett entered the picture, our weekly dinners had dwindled to monthly phone calls, then quarterly texts. But when she called in late March, her voice was warm, almost pleading. "Dad, please come for Easter. I miss you. We miss you. Brett's been asking about you." I should have known something was wrong right then. Brett had never asked about me in his life. I drove to their house in Westchester on Easter Sunday, my 20-year-old Honda Civic making concerning noises the entire way. They lived in a colonial-style home that I knew was stretching their budget. Emily worked as a marketing coordinator, Brett as a regional sales manager. Good jobs, but not colonial in Westchester money. I had wondered more than once how they were managing. Emily opened the door in a yellow sundress, her smile just a fraction too bright. "Dad, you made it!" She hugged me, and I caught Brett's reflection in the hallway mirror behind her. He was watching us with an expression I couldn't quite read. When he noticed me looking, he plastered on a grin and stepped forward with his hand extended. "Walt, good to see you, buddy." I shook his hand. Brett had never called me Walt before, always Mr. Brennan, and that was when he addressed me at all. The house smelled like ham and sweet potatoes. Emily had gone all out, the dining table set with what looked like new china, fresh flowers in a crystal vase. I recognized none of it, all of it expensive. "Wow, Em," I said, setting down the bottle of wine I'd brought. "This is beautiful. New dishes?" She waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, these old things? Just stuff we've been collecting." Brett poured me a glass of wine, a Cabernet that, based on the label, cost more than my monthly car insurance. Only the best for family, Walt. There it was again, Walt. My jaw tightened, but I smiled and raised my glass. We sat down to eat, and for the first 20 minutes, everything seemed almost normal. Emily asked about my garden. I told her about the tomatoes I was trying to grow in containers on my apartment balcony. She laughed at my story about the squirrel that had stolen 3 green tomatoes. Brett checked his phone twice. Then Brett cleared his throat. "So, Walt, Emily and I have been talking. We're worried about you." I set down my fork. "Worried?" Emily reached across the table and put her hand on mine. Her palm was cold. "Dad, you're living in that tiny studio apartment. You're driving a car that's older than some of my coworkers. We want to make sure you're okay. Financially, I had worked in systems analysis for 37 years before retiring. I lived modestly because I chose to, not because I had to, but I had never discussed my finances with Emily in detail. After Rachel died, I had focused so completely on giving Emily everything she needed that we never talked about money. She assumed I had spent it all on her. In a way, I had let her assume that "I'm doing fine," I said carefully. "The apartment suits me. The car runs." Brett leaned back in his chair. "Emily mentioned you don't have much in the way of savings. No retirement accounts she knows about." That was technically true. Emily didn't know about them. "I manage," I said. "We want to help," Emily said quickly. "Maybe you could move in here? We have that spare bedroom. It would save you rent money." Something cold settled in my stomach. The spare bedroom was Brett's home office, full of expensive computer equipment and his golf trophies. I had seen it last Thanksgiving, before the dinner invitations stopped coming. "That's generous," I said slowly, "but I like my independence." Brett and Emily exchanged a glance. It lasted maybe 2 seconds, but I caught something in it, something rehearsed. "Well, think about it," Brett said. "The offer's open." After dinner, while Emily was in the kitchen preparing coffee, I excused myself to use the bathroom. The powder room off the dining room was occupied, So Emily directed me upstairs to the master bathroom. That's where I found them. The documents were sitting on the counter next to the sink, partially tucked under a hand towel. Like someone had been reviewing them and hastily tried to hide them when they heard me coming up the stairs. I wouldn't have looked twice, except I saw my name. Policyholder, Walter James Brennan. My hands went cold. I picked up the papers. It was a life insurance policy. $2 million. Beneficiary, Emily Morrison. The policy had been opened 4 months ago. I stared at my signature at the bottom of the application. Except it wasn't my signature. It was close, very close, but the loop on the B was wrong, and I never crossed my tents that way. I kept reading. The policy had a double indemnity clause for accidental death. $4 million if I died in an accident within the first year. Under the insurance papers were printed emails. I recognized Brett's email address. The other address I didn't know, but the name at the bottom made my blood stop. Marcus Chen, private investigator. The emails were brief. Queries about my daily routines, where I shopped, when I took my walks, what medications I took. Brett had paid Marcus $3,000 for a full background workup. The most recent email was dated 2 days ago. Target is a habitual creature. Same walk every morning, 6 a.m., through Riverside Park. Minimal witnesses. Subject appears to be in poor health. Unsteady gait. I wasn't unsteady. I had an artificial knee from a skiing accident in my 40s, and I sometimes favored it in the mornings. But to someone watching from a distance, I could see how it might look like I was frail. There was a knock on the bathroom door. Dad, you okay in there? I arranged the papers exactly as I had found them, angles and all. Fine, Em. Be right out. I washed my hands, dried them, and looked at myself in the mirror. My face was pale, my eyes too wide. I forced my features into something neutral, calm. When I came back downstairs, Emily was pouring coffee. Brett was scrolling through his phone. I sat down and accepted the cup she handed me. Thanks for dinner, I said. My voice sounded normal. That surprised me. Everything was delicious. Oh, I'm so glad you came, Emily said. She looked like she meant it. That was the worst part. I finished my coffee, made small talk for another 30 minutes, then claimed I was tired and needed to get home before dark. Emily walked me to the door. She hugged me again, tighter this time. I love you, Dad, she whispered. Love you too, sweetheart. Brett called from the living room. Drive safe, Walt. Maybe take it easy on those morning walks? Huh? Don't want you overdoing it? I kept my smile in place all the way to my car. The moment I turned the corner and was out of sight of their house, I pulled over and gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. My daughter, my Emily, the girl I had raised, the child I had sacrificed everything for, was planning to kill me for insurance money. No, not just Emily. Brett. This had Brett's fingerprints all over it. The fake signature, the private investigator, the rehearsed concern about my finances. Emily was involved, but Brett was driving this. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, watching the sun set through the windshield. Then I pulled out my phone and made a call. Brennan, the voice on the other end said. Thought you were dead. Not yet, Marcus, I said. But somebody's trying to fix that. Marcus Reeves had been my partner at the FBI for 12 years before I transferred to the Systems Division. He had retired 5 years ago, but we still got together for poker once a month. He was also one of 3 people who knew exactly how much money I actually had. I told him everything. The dinner, the insurance policy, the emails. When I finished, there was a long silence. Then, Jesus, Walt. Your own daughter? I don't know how deep she's in, I said. But I need to find out, and I need to stop this. You want me to bring in the bureau? Not yet. I need more than papers that can be explained away as a misunderstanding. I need them on tape, planning it, attempting it. I need evidence that will hold up. Another pause. Then Marcus said the words I had been hoping for. I'll make some calls. I drove home to my studio apartment in White Plains. It wasn't much to look at, 600 square feet, a kitchenette, a Murphy bed. But it was paid off, and the building was secure. More importantly, it was temporary. I had been living there for 3 years while I decided what to do with the actual house in Connecticut that I owned outright and the modest stock portfolio that Rachel and I had built during our marriage. Emily didn't know about any of it. After Rachel died, I had thrown myself into giving Emily everything. College, spending money, a car, her wedding. I paid for all of it in cash, withdrawals from accounts Emily never knew existed. She had grown up thinking we were comfortable but modest. I had never corrected that impression. Maybe that was my first mistake. The next morning, I went on my usual walk through Riverside Park. Marcus had told me not to change my routine, that it would look suspicious. So I walked the same path I always did, at the same time, wearing my usual windbreaker and baseball cap. My phone was in my pocket. Location sharing turned on. Marcus watching my dot move on his screen. I scanned every parked car, every jogger, every person walking a dog. Nobody looked out of place. But someone was watching. I could feel it. For 3 days, nothing happened. I walked. I shopped. I went to the library. Normal routine. Emily sent me a text on Tuesday. Had such a nice time at Easter. Let's do it again soon. I texted back. Sounds good, sweetheart. On Thursday, Marcus called. Got something. Friend of mine at the phone company ran Brett's cell records. He's been calling a number registered to a Jake Poulson. Ever heard of him? No. He's got a record. Assault, armed robbery, did 3 years in Attica. Got out 8 months ago. Been working odd jobs, mostly under the table stuff. My stomach dropped. Brett hired muscle. Looks like it. They've been talking almost daily for 2 weeks. Last call was yesterday. Can you get the calls recorded? Not without a warrant, and we don't have cause for that yet. But Walt. Marcus hesitated. Maybe it's time to confront them. Show them the papers, tell them you know. They'll deny everything. Brett will say someone forged the insurance papers, that it's identity theft. Emily will cry and say she didn't know anything about it, and Jake Poulson will disappear before we can prove they hired him. So what's your plan? I looked out my apartment window at the park below. I give them what they want, an opportunity. Marcus started to object, but I cut him off. I spent 20 years in the bureau, Marcus. I know how this works. We need them to act. And to act, they need to think they have the perfect setup. Over the next week, I became a different person, a frailer person. I started using a cane when I walked, leaning heavily on it. I bought a pill organizer and made sure to fill it conspicuously when I was at the pharmacy. I started wearing my reading glasses all the time, even when I didn't need them. To anyone watching, I looked like I had aged 10 years in 2 weeks. I also started taking the same walking route at the same time, every single day, like clockwork. 6 a.m., through the park, down the path that ran along the river, where there was a steep embankment on one side and thick trees on the other. The perfect place for an accident. Marcus was furious. You're painting a target on your back. I'm giving them confidence. There's a difference. What if your daughter is actually okay with you dying, Walt? What if she's not being manipulated by Brett? What if she wants this? That question kept me up at night. But I pushed it away. I needed to know the truth, whatever it was. Emily called me on the second Friday after Easter. Dad, how about I take you to lunch tomorrow? Just us. I want to catch up. We met at a cafe in downtown White Plains. Emily looked tired, like she hadn't been sleeping well. She ordered a salad she barely touched. I ordered soup and made a show of my hands, shaking slightly when I lifted the spoon. Dad, are you okay? She asked. You seem different. Just getting older, Em. It happens to all of us. She bit her lip. Have you thought more about moving in with us? I really think it would be better. Brett and I could keep an eye on you. Keep an eye on me. That was one way to put it. I'm thinking about it, I said. Her eyes lit up. Really? Really? Just give me a little more time. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I just want you safe, Dad. You're all I have left. I wanted to believe her. God. I wanted to believe that some part of my daughter still loved me, that she was being manipulated, that she didn't know the full extent of what Brett was planning. But I saw how her eyes flicked to her phone when it buzzed. I saw how she angled it away from me when she checked it. I saw the text preview before she could hide it. How'd it go? From Brett. After lunch, I went home and called Marcus. Anything? Jake Polson has been in White Plains the last 4 days, staying at the Motel 6 on Central Avenue. Brett wired him $5,000 on Tuesday. Down payment. That's my guess. Walt, let me bring in the bureau. We can get wiretaps, surveillance. 1 more week, I said. I'll give them 1 more week. That night, I drafted an email to my attorney, outlining everything. I attached photos of the insurance documents I had memorized. I set it to send automatically if I didn't cancel it within 7 days. Insurance of my own. The following Monday morning, I put on my windbreaker and my baseball cap. I tucked my phone in my pocket, location sharing on. I picked up my cane, and I walked to the park. It was a beautiful May morning. The sun was just starting to rise, painting the sky pink and gold. Birds were singing. A few early joggers passed me, earbuds in, focused on their own worlds. I walked slowly, deliberately, following my usual path toward the river. The trail narrowed as it approached the embankment. Trees closed in on both sides. I could hear the water running below, swollen from spring rains. This was it. The perfect spot. I heard footsteps behind me, heavy, purposeful. Not the light jog of a runner. I didn't turn around. I kept walking, my cane tapping against the pavement. The footsteps got closer. "Hey, old-timer," a voice said. "Shouldn't you be more careful? This path's pretty dangerous for someone your age." I turned. Jake Polson was bigger than I expected. 6'2", maybe 220, muscles visible under his tight t-shirt. He had a scar running down his left cheek and eyes that had seen the inside of too many prison cells. "I'm fine, thank you," I said, making my voice waver slightly. He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "I don't think you are. In fact, I think you're about to have a tragic accident." He took a step toward me. I took a step back, closer to the embankment edge. "I don't understand," I said. "You don't need to." He pulled out his phone, tapped a few times, and turned it toward me. I saw Brett's face on a video call. Behind Brett, I could see Emily. They were in their car, parked somewhere, watching. "Just wanted you to see who sends their regards," Jake said. My daughter's face was pale. Her eyes were wide. But she wasn't yelling for him to stop. She wasn't screaming. She was just watching. Something broke inside me. But I kept my face neutral, scared, like a confused old man. Jake pocketed his phone and moved closer. Nothing personal, just business. "I understand," I said quietly. Then I straightened up, dropping the cane. "But here's what you don't understand, Jake." I pulled my phone out and held it up. The recording app was running. Had been running since I left my apartment. Every word you just said is on tape. Brett and Emily's faces are on video. And the FBI has had surveillance on this location since 5 a.m. this morning. Jake froze. I heard the footsteps before he did. 6 agents emerged from the trees, weapons drawn. Marcus led the team, his badge out. "Jake Polson, you're under arrest for attempted murder. Keep your hands where I can see them." Jake's face went from confusion to rage. He lunged at me. He was fast, but I had been expecting it. I sidestepped, and Marcus's team was on him in seconds, driving him to the ground. Marcus walked up to me while 2 agents cuffed Jake. "You good?" "I'm good." My hands were shaking now, but not from fear, from adrenaline, from rage, from heartbreak. "We've got units picking up Brett and Emily now. That video call was all we needed. Conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, forgery. They're done." I nodded. I couldn't speak. "Walt," Marcus said gently, "I'm sorry." I watched as they hauled Jake to his feet and marched him toward the waiting cars. Then I sat down on a bench and put my head in my hands. The trial took 6 months. Brett and Emily both tried to claim they were just joking, that it was a prank gone wrong, but the insurance fraud was undeniable. The forged signature, the payments to Jake, the private investigator, the recorded phone calls that the FBI had obtained with a warrant after Jake's arrest. In the end, Jake took a plea deal and testified against them. Brett got 15 years. Emily got 12. I attended the sentencing, Emily cried when the judge read her sentence. She looked at me across the courtroom, and for just a moment, I saw my little girl, the one who used to hold my hand when we crossed the street, the one who cried when her goldfish died, the one who hugged me so tight on her wedding day and whispered, "I hope I'm half as strong as you, Dad." But then the bailiff led her away, and she was gone. After it was over, after the cameras left and the reporters stopped calling, I sold the house in Connecticut. I bought a small cabin in Vermont, near a lake where Rachel and I had spent our anniversary every year. I brought her ashes there and spread them in the water, like she had always wanted. I kept the stock portfolio. It's worth considerably more than the $2 million they thought they were getting. I split it into a trust. Half goes to a charity that helps children who've lost parents. The other half is in Emily's name, but she can't touch it until she's served her full sentence. There's a condition attached. She has to complete therapy. She has to show genuine remorse. She has to prove to a panel of psychologists that she understands what she did and why it was wrong. Maybe I'm a fool. Maybe I should have just written her out of my life completely. But she's still my daughter. And I have to believe that the girl I raised is still in there somewhere, buried under greed and bad choices and Brett Morrison's influence. I don't know if I'll ever see her again. I don't know if I want to. But I know this. I didn't die in that park. I didn't let them take everything Rachel and I built. And I didn't let my daughter become a murderer, even if that meant sending her to prison. Sometimes love means calling 911. Sometimes it means testifying against your own child. Sometimes it means saving them from themselves, even when they hate you for it. I'm 73 now. 6 years have passed. I got a letter last week. It was from Emily. The return address was a federal correctional facility in Connecticut. I haven't opened it yet. It sits on my kitchen table, next to my morning coffee. Maybe I'll open it today. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe never. But I kept it. That has to mean something.